Hello, thank you so much for being here. I'm Soul Song Sage, and in today's reading, we are going to be taking a look at your higher purpose and what that is. Now, this could be your higher calling in life, or it could just be, a higher purpose in the current chapter of your life. But after we take a look at that, we will be getting some guidance on how to stay in alignment with your higher purpose moving forward. So to start off, I want to get a card from the BTS Song of the Soul Oracle. Thought that wanted to come out, but I wasn't sure which one it was. Oh. Here we go. We have, I like it. I swallow the curses that rose up in my throat, and the keyword is repression. Which, side note, if I were to redo these cards, I would change it to suppression, because I feel like repression is more of like an unconscious thing that we do, whereas this is more conscious, so it should be suppression. But anyway, we'll look at it both ways. But next, I want to take a look at these oracle cards that I have pre-shuffled, and this is just going to represent, along with this card, it's going to represent the energy of your current situation. And so you can use it as a sort of energy check to see if it sounds like, that this reading is in alignment with your energy. So to start off, we have Earth, persistence, patience, and practicality. We have number 44, Rhea. The keyword is flow. Cleansing, releasing the old, energetic tune-up, new beginnings. And number 21, tiny triumphs. Okay, so to start us off, I mean, the what I'm noticing immediately is that we have earth and then water. This card is, or this deck is actually all about water, but we also have the keyword flow here. So I am getting the sense that there's like, either you are learning how to balance these two elements, like the energy of these elements, or there is a need to. So like if there's too much earth energy, like on the one hand, the positive aspect of it is, grounding and stability, practicality, having patience, and persistence. And that we'll get to persistence with that card, but that's also, that's showing up twice. But the problem is that if you have too much earth energy, if it isn't balanced out with, say, water, then there is a tendency to become almost like stubborn, like too serious, too narrow-minded, too, rigid. Whereas, with water, we have like flow, there's like a looseness, there's inspiration and emotions and creativity and inspiration and all these things. But if water is not balanced with an element like earth, then we can get like too caught up in our daydreams. We can get too whimsical. We might not get anything done because we're always just like sort of drifting and just like whatever happens, and like we go with the flow. So there is a need for a balance between the two. And if you feel like you are more leaning one way or the other, then there is a need, especially the message is that there is a need to find that balance, to have, if you're more into the water energy, to find ways to, really ground your energy and what you're trying to do and have a bit more purpose with it and discipline. If you're more aligned with the earth energy, then there's a need to loosen up and go with the flow a bit more. But I think that part of this balance and, fine-tuning, these energies, part of, going with the flow of opening yourself up to being open-minded, really, is cleansing. It's letting go of the things that are no longer in alignment with you, things that are not serving your purpose, releasing the old so that you can make way for new beginnings, instead of being too, fixated on like certain ideas that you have, or like clinging to things from your past. There's a need to let go of those and loosen up to allow the things that are leaving your life to flow, to, as a sort of cleansing, to allow those things to be washed away so that you can have room for new beginnings. Another part of letting go that I'm getting is this of not holding on to, whether it is conscious or not, whether it's repression or suppression, not holding on to your emotions, but allowing yourself to process them, and in order to release them so that they're not like weighing you down or getting stagnant. And part of that could be, we have the blue microphone is associated with the throat chakra. So this is about communication. So whether there is something that you have been holding on to, like keeping to yourself, keeping quiet, that you need to express to another person, and maybe that is in order to get closure, maybe that is in order to, move on and whatnot, or just to leave behind, bad habits of not expressing yourself, not saying what's on your mind. If that doesn't feel like it applies to you, there could also just be like maybe journaling, or talking to a friend about things to actually like unbury, things from your past or present that need to be processed and healed, so that you don't get stuck in the past, so that you have greater flexibility and openness to getting into this flow state. But part of the need to have this earth energy, because like we said, there's a balance. There is a need for persistence still. There's, it might sound kind of contradictory, but these two energies really do complement each other really well. So, like you need to have a sense of grounding and security within yourself, not in the sense of stubbornness, not in the sense of not being open to the things that might spontaneously arise, or, like whatever the flow of your day ends up being. There needs to be a sense of stability and grounding in order to feel comfortable enough to do that, if that makes sense. But part of this energy that I wanted to get to is talking about persistence. And also part, like it relates to that sense of grounding as well. But we have this card of tiny triumphs. And on the one hand, there is like a message of needing to celebrate your small victories along the way. But this card actually has like another way of, that might not be immediately obvious, when you look at tiny triumphs. But like if you look at the image, this is a bird of prey and it's small, whereas the mouse is big. And like the message of this card is actually, it is about persistence, and not giving up. But related to that, it is not thinking of yourself too small to do something that you want to do. So, like if you have a dream that you really want to pursue, but you don't think you're capable of it, like this card is talking about like that, like don't diminish your own power, don't diminish your own potential by thinking of yourself as being so small, because it's actually, regardless of size, it's like the inner strength, the inner qualities that are really important. So there's like multiple ways of interpreting this card. I am getting the sense though that like there is a need to celebrate your small victories along the way to whatever you're trying to accomplish. And that can allow you to have a greater sense of patience, and to not, to sort of like loosen up on the idea of like, oh, I got to stay focused and work hard. It can also help you like celebrating along the way and appreciating the journey can help you be more flexible and open, because there's not like that sense of urgency. But the earth element as well can talk about being present, which also really complements the energy of water. It's like being the presence of earth, of being just being. You know, like it's really hard for a lot of people to just exist. Like they feel like they need to be doing something constantly, or they're constantly on their phones, like mediating themselves in some way. You know, like always needing stimulation of some kind, or their minds are overly active. It's really hard for people to just be present. But when you are present, it can actually, like, that gets you into alignment so that you can enter into a state of flow. And when you are in alignment and things begin to flow, you end up, like, that's where you end up getting, you know, like the greater sense of your purpose, or, you know, things end up, you can like experience synchronicities and, you know, like different things like that, that are really positive and have a big impact on you and your life. It's often when you can like get into that state of flow, not to be swept away, you know, like we want the balance, but like that's the energy of the situation that I'm getting. So maybe you already feel like you are learning how to balance those two energies, or maybe there is a need for that balance. But if that sounded relatable to you, you know, however it applies, you know, personally, I do want to go ahead and get now. Let's try that again. I do want to go ahead now and get into the tarot. I don't know why that was so hard to say. I need, you know, to strengthen my throat chakra, I guess. I don't know. So what I want to do is get a card for your energy, your higher purpose, and then after having an idea of what your higher purpose is, how you can set your intentions and how you can direct your focus in order to stay in alignment with your higher purpose. And then we'll just end with any additional guidance. Okay, so I will put the timestamp in the video if you want to skip this part. But for those of you who are going to stick with me, let's start by getting a card to represent your energy. What is the energy of the viewer at this time? We have the Star. Lovely. Next, let's get a card for your higher purpose. What is the viewer's higher purpose? Ooh. Flipped out. We have the Eight of Cups in reverse. How should the viewer set their intention? Queen of Wands in reverse. Is that the only one that flipped? And next, how should the viewer direct their focus? Oh. We have Judgment in reverse. Last, let's get a card for any additional guidance. Okay. We have the Hermit, also in reverse. Although I feel like a lot of the reversals kind of came out crooked, but if it's not completely straight, then I will take it as reverse. Okay, so to start us off with your energy, we have the Star. So what I'm getting from this is, like, many of you might have might have related a little bit more to the water energy. That's not necessarily the case, but I am getting a sort of dreamy, inspired feeling, which I feel like is very much in the energy of flow, of being in flow, of being sort of like daydreamy. I don't usually think about, I don't usually associate this card with daydreaming, but like, usually I think more about like inspiration, and hope. And it could definitely be that you have a sense of hope for, you know, your future, for your life. But I am getting a sense of like, I don't know, like just like the feeling of like when you look at the night sky, I mean, at least when I look at the night sky and there's like a really clear view of the stars, I get like this sort of sense of just like, I don't know, like just like the possibilities are endless. You know, there's like an inspiring quality to just looking at the stars. Um, and maybe you enjoy stargazing or something like that. But I am getting a sense that you are an optimistic person. And I feel like you are very inspired. You could be very spiritual, or you could be getting more into that at this time, especially if you're coming from the earth energy. Like maybe this is like new territory for you still. But yeah, I am getting like just a really positive energy. I am getting a sense of open-mindedness. But maybe, like I said, if you if you relate a little bit more with the water energy, then there's, like maybe it's a little too dreamy. And maybe there's too much time, like more like fantasizing instead of like envisioning in order to practically, like make your visions into a reality, if you know what I mean. Um, but not necessarily, it's not necessarily to be interpreted in like a negative way. Um, so next, taking a look at your higher purpose. It is really interesting to me that we have the Eight of Cups in reverse. It would make so much more sense to me if the card came up upright, because upright, it is a card about leaving certain things behind in order to find emotional, spiritual fulfillment. But we have it in the reverse. And so I am getting this more as like the higher purpose of this chapter of your life, this period that you are currently in, and maybe not so much one of your life purpose. So if you were wanting to know what your higher calling was, I'm sorry. I am getting more the sense of this is like just this phase, the purpose of this phase. Because what the Eight of Cups in reverse can indicate, like I'm really the more this reading is going, the more I'm feeling like you guys were very much in the water energy, because the Eight of Cups in reverse can sort of be like aimless drifting, like wandering without purpose. Like this figure, when it's upright, is going on a journey, leaving behind what is familiar in order to find fulfillment. Like there is a purpose to their search. But in reverse, it could indicate either that there is an aimlessness, a lack of purpose to the journey, or there can also be a sort of abandonment of spirituality in order to focus more on the material. And normally we would interpret that in a negative sense, right? Like we think like, oh, you shouldn't be so focused on the material that you completely neglect the spiritual side of life. But in this case, I'm getting the sense of like the purpose is to ground whatever this is, like the water energy, the daydreams, the whatever, like the whatever inspiration you have, like you are in touch with the spiritual is what I'm getting. But now it's like, okay, take that energy, take that inspiration and ground it. This card can also talk about when it's in reverse, it's like having gone and seen the world and like searched for the feeling of fulfillment. It's like having gone on that journey, the individual is now like looking to find a home. Like they've done their travels and they are looking for a place to rest, to settle down, to find a place to call home. And so I think that is another purpose of this chapter, is to find where your place is. Your purpose is to find your purpose is like kind of what I'm getting from that. But like, how should I explain it? It's like to figure out where you belong, to figure out where your ideas can have a home, where they can become a reality, of figuring out where to take all of that inspiration in order to make it manifest. Like we even have this in front of the Earth card. So I hope that that makes sense. It's like you are super inspired. You may be very creative. You may have like big dreams, you know, and maybe you just think of them as like wishful thinking at this time, which actually, even more to that point, we have, you know, like what we were talking about with this card is don't think that you're too small for your dreams. Don't undermine yourself or, you know, like limit your own potential. Because I think that that's what, if you are more in this water energy, you have the inspiration, but maybe you just aren't seeing how it can become a reality. Maybe you're not seeing that you can actually ground those ideas and manifest them into your physical reality. And so I'm thinking that that's why we have this card. It's like, okay, you've thought about in your head what kind of place you would like to live, where you feel like you would belong. Now it's time to actually find what that is in real life. Okay, so you have like these great ideas and inspiring visions of what you want to do. Okay, now it's time to make them a reality. You know, like things like that. It's like whatever's going on, you know, whether it's like your daydreams or, you know, just like a more abstract feeling. It's like figure out what that is in real life. The tangible, what would that look like in tangible reality? And then do that. You know, so that is like the purpose of this chapter of your life. That's what I'm getting from that. Okay, so to move on to intention, we have the Queen of Wands in reverse. So I think that the message here, I'm getting almost the sense of that, like, this is your current energy in a way. Like this is a reflection of where you are, and you need to set the intention to heal this aspect, which is, you know, like there could be like a lack of confidence in yourself. There could be, you know, a sort of passive or yielding sort of like, I guess, disposition, or, you know, like just way of just behavior, of being just very passive, instead of, you know, like needing to balance these things. Like that actually makes a lot of sense. Of if you go with the flow too much, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever happens is all good. And it's like there needs to be a balance between those energies. So there is a need to work on healing anything that is like making you feel unmotivated, uninspired. And like, I know that I said that you seem very inspired, but I guess I mean it more in this sense. I'm meaning unmotivated to actually take action on the vision that you have, if that makes sense. Like to actually allow your inspiration to fuel action, to fuel your steps towards making your vision a reality. I hope that makes sense. There's nuance there. But yeah, like, so I feel like at this time, instead of worrying too much about the how, it's like just getting yourself, you know, to a place of like mental, emotional stability to recognize your own potential in making your dreams and visions into a reality. To like, so, you know, like I know I was like saying like you like this, I do believe that your greater purpose here is to actually manifest your visions in physical reality. But that doesn't mean that you need to worry immediately about like, what are the next steps that I need to take? How do I do it? How do I make it go from like something in my head to something in physical reality. Just set the intention to work on believing in yourself more. To just like understanding that you are capable of doing whatever it is that you want to do, but it just seems like a fantasy right now. That's what I'm getting for setting your intention to heal whatever is keeping you from believing that you are capable of accomplishing this. But as far as focus goes, we have judgment in the reverse. So I am getting the sense that like I keep going back and forth between these two energies, but like that is because there really needs to be a balance of the two. So in this case, your focus needs to be open. Don't jump to conclusions. Don't jump to, like to decisions, to judgments too quickly. Keep yourself open. Keep an open mind. This card can also talk about the past and seeing like the consequences of the past and whatnot. But like I'm getting the sense of like, don't let your past deter you in any way. Don't let your past, like if there were any failures or, things that didn't work out for you, don't take that as a sign that you aren't going to be able to accomplish this new thing that, you would like to pursue. Keep an open mind. And it still goes along to that point of like, don't try to think of what the first step is going to be. Don't worry about how you're going to do it. Just focus on having the right attitude and keeping an open mind. Don't jump to conclusions, right? So that's what I'm getting for focus. It's like actually don't focus. Relax your focus. Stay open-minded. You don't need to like barrel ahead, in order to make this a reality. What you really need to do is get into the right energy, the right attitude, the right mindset, and stay open and stay in a sense, like stay with that sense of flow in order for this to take place. It's just that, you don't want to only get stuck in the daydream, but to understand that whatever inspires you, whatever vision you may have is possible. It can become reality as long as you start to shift your beliefs especially about yourself and what you are capable of. So as far as additional guidance goes, we have the Hermit in reverse. So for some of you, if you are in the habit of getting lost in the daydreaming, of getting lost in fantasy, I feel like this is like a card, a message to, maybe reel that back a bit. Like maybe keep that in check a little bit more. Find some healthier ways of, something where you can be more present in the present moment, right? Instead of getting lost in fantasy. That's not to say don't ever spend time envisioning what you want for your future. You can do that in a very constructive way. But once you have that vision, that's when you need to allow there to be time for that to ground itself and manifest in physical reality. Because if you're constantly leaping from one vision to another, like, oh, maybe that would be good, maybe that would be good, like nothing can ever become like, nothing can ever solidify from that, right? So there needs to be, a little more balance with that. So don't let yourself get lost in the daydreams. Don't isolate yourself either. That's the general message. Like for those of you who don't really feel like you spend a lot of time fantasizing or daydreaming or whatever, there is a message here of not isolating yourself, of, and it could even just be part of being present, of being more aware of the present moment, of your surroundings. Could be like spending more time with people. This could also indicate, well, like more to that point of sometimes when the Hermit is in reverse, there is a need to, like, if the individual has spent a lot of time in seclusion, there's a need to sort of reintegrate with society, right? And so if there is also a message that I'm getting here, though, that if any of you have secluded yourself, whether that's because you enjoy daydreaming, you enjoy fantasizing more than you enjoy speaking with other people, or there could just be, like, either way, what I'm getting is that, like, for some of you, there was a period of isolation that was necessary, and perhaps still is for some of you to a certain extent, but we'll get there. But it was because there was healing that you needed to do, or still need to do. For some of you, I'm getting the sense that, like, whatever painful experience, whatever painful memories or unconscious, repressed pain, grief, whatever it is, like, that was the cause for the sort of stepping back out of society. But for some of you, instead of taking that time, using that time in isolation in order to heal and work through those emotions and those painful experiences so that you could release them, so you can cleanse and heal from those experiences, that was like the fantasy, like, you ended up fantasizing and, like, dissociating from those experiences instead of allowing yourself to work through and heal them. And so the message here, for like the guidance, what would really help you the most moving forward is to actually just allow yourself to work through those emotions, to work through those experiences, so that you can reintegrate with society, because I feel like that is going to be a necessary aspect for you to actually be able to, one, find where you belong. Like we talked about, a sense of belonging. Like, if you want to find your people, your tribe, your home, like whoever it is, like your found family, like, you need to be in a better place emotionally to just allow yourself to be yourself without repressing certain aspects, or avoiding unpleasant memories, that sort of thing. But also, to, like, you need to go through that healing process in order to manifest your vision, to make it a reality. Like, like, maybe you are going to need support, maybe you are going to need to collaborate with others in order to make your dreams a reality. So there's, like, a lot of different ways that this could be interpreted, but I am getting the sense that, like, for those of you who don't feel ready to reintegrate with society, for those of you who related to the sort of escapism, of fantasizing, that's something that, like, you need to give expression to those painful experiences, because then that is literally because if you were using these, like, visions, the daydreams, the fantasizing, whatever it is, if you were using it as a way to distract yourself from the painful experiences that you went through, from the unhealed aspects, that got repressed and buried, if that's what those daydreams and visions are doing for you, like, that's why they're not that's why they're not coming into, like, physical reality. So once you can release, once you can cleanse, and give expression to what needs to give in, like I said, this does not mean that you have to, like, if someone hurt you, if someone harmed you in some way, you don't need to confront them or speak face to face. Like, this can also just refer to talking to a friend, talking to a therapist, or even just journaling, just allowing yourself to speak, your truth, to in order to process your emotions and to get into alignment with your true authentic self. But as you do that, as you release the old wounds, as you heal and cleanse, like those visions are going to be cleansed too. And then instead of being a distraction from reality, they will become your reality, which is so much better, right? Do you only want to stay in your head and have like only good things happen like as you imagine them to, or do you want to actually see it happen in real life? Like, so that's the incentive here, is like use your time in isolation wisely so that you can heal and reintegrate with society. That's what I'm getting from this, because this card can, like I said, it being in reverse, it can indicate someone who has been isolated for a long period and needs to reintegrate, but it can also indicate someone who is avoiding the inner reflection, the introspection, who is avoiding this. So I am getting that it's kind of both. It's like, make sure that you're using your time alone the way it needs to be used, the way that it actually has a positive effect on you and on your life, so that you can reintegrate, with society, and to open yourself up to others. Like, it can be hard to want to form new relationships with others, whether it's just friends or, or if it is like a romantic situation. If we haven't healed from wounds from our past, from past relationships, then it's really going to be hard to open ourselves up to new ones, right? And like I said, that could also just be like a sense of collaboration. Like, there may be people that you need to work with in order to make your vision a reality. But yeah, the general message I'm getting here is to just find a balance between the earth and the water energies, and really make sure that you are not making yourself small, that you can open yourself up to seeing your own potential and seeing how capable you are of taking your dreams, your visions, your fantasies, and instead of using it as a way to avoid difficult emotions and experiences that you've been through, you can actually, if you give those expression and release them, you can actually make this into a reality. You can find your place, you can find where you belong, and find where your dreams and visions can exist in actual reality. So I hope that made sense. Please let me know if it did. I will go ahead and grab one of these cards for any last messages. But I'm still happy that I've become who I am. I will never lose my dream. Okay, so if there are experiences from your past that were difficult for you, this is like what I get from this card, or from this lyric, is that there should be a sense of appreciation for your experiences and allowing you to grow and develop into the individual that you are today. So even if there are things that you don't like about your past, things that you wish you could change about your past, don't be afraid to face them, because there was significant growth that occurred. Or perhaps if you've been avoiding it, you might be missing the lesson. But if you take that time for introspection and really allow yourself to process and release those emotions, and those experiences, then you can actually see the lesson, see the wisdom within that experience, and actually integrate it. That one I feel like is pretty self-explanatory. So I will leave it at that. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any feedback for me, I would love to hear it. And don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope to see you in my next one.